This story is about an experience I had back when I was 12 years old. I can't think of a solid explanation for the following events, which is one of the reasons why I'm posting it here. I think maybe if I got some fresh opinions on it, then maybe that could give me a bit of closure. This occurred during October of 2012, when my cousin and I went to stay with our grandparents. These grandparents live out in the middle of nowhere, in a remote area of the Welsh countryside in the UK. My cousin and I are from Birmingham, so it was a huge change of scene for us. Where they live there is no street lights, no rushing traffic, just my grandparents' cottage and a vast expanse of moors and hills. Our first impressions of it were that it was peaceful and beautiful. If you stopped to listen to the surroundings, you would hear almost pristine silence, apart from the occasional groan of a deer. Honestly, my cousin and I had never been somewhere so off the grid. Nonetheless, we were very excited and optimistic about the week ahead of us. There was no internet at my grandparents', but being 12 years old, this didn't sway my brother and I that much. We were imaginative kids, and we could always keep ourselves occupied. My cousin, let's call him Will. Anyway, after being welcomed by my grandparents, who have Welsh accents so strong we struggle to understand them sometimes, grandparents gave us a tour of the cottage. It had 2 bedrooms, a fairly large kitchen, a bathroom, and a living room. The atmosphere in the cottage seemed warm and cozy. My granddad showed us into our bedroom that we were to share. It was pretty nice. 2 single beds and a wardrobe for clothes. My eyes wandered up to the shelf on the other side of the room to the beds, and I gasped when I saw it. Sitting on that shelf, there was an old-fashioned cymbal monkey. The kind from the 1970s that have the striped trousers, yellow vest, and creepy. At around 10 o'clock that night, it was time for us to go to bed after a long, fun day. It was total darkness outside at this point, so the only source of light in Will and I's bedroom was the lamp that sat on a cabinet in between our beds. I was just about to turn that light off when Will stopped me. What about Charlie? He pointed to the cymbal monkey that was eerily staring in our direction. I sighed, but I knew he found the monkey way more freaky than I did. So I got up, went over to Charlie, and turned it around to face the wall. I turned back to Will. There, he can't see us. Happy now? He nodded slowly, so I climbed back into bed and turned off the light. It's dark to even see the monkey on the shelf anyway. After a while, I drifted off. The next morning, I awoke to Will shaking me. "What do you want?" I asked groggily. Did you move the monkey last night?" he demanded. I was confused. I looked over at the monkey, and to my surprise, it was staring right at me. To make things worse, it had also been moved further along the shelf towards me. Will seemed genuinely scared by it, so it most likely wasn't him. Plus, Will can't reach the shelf by himself. My granddad also denied having anything to do with it, but I'm not sure how truthful he was being. I'll just move it into the living room for now, if he scares you guys too much. He frowned when he said that, which made me think he was actually being honest. On top of all this, the door to our room is very, very creaky, and I'm a light sleeper, so surely, if someone walked in, I would have woken up. We spent that day hiking and again enjoying ourselves. I awoke suddenly during the night after hearing what sounded like a bang. Immediately I checked my watch. It was 1 in the morning. After straining my hearing for a while, I decided that it was nothing and began to drift back to sleep, when the noise came again, just as loud as before. A cold chill washed over my body when I recognized what that sound was. The sound of tiny little cymbals clashing together. I was creeped out now, but also very curious. I got up, slowly creaked open the bedroom door, and walked over to the living room. And Grandma were in bed at this time. No one, and I mean no one, was up and around in the house. My granddad went through and turned the light on, and sure enough the monkey was sitting on the shelf. But it had turned around again, and it was facing the entrance to the living room. Its mouth was wide open, and its eyes were intently staring, just as they always had. My granddad sat and examined the monkey. I walked over to him. My heart rate slowly settled down, and I was waiting for him to explain how he had pulled off the prank. But he didn't. He looked pale. He looked confused. So as a child, looking for words of security, I asked him what was wrong, and he looked at me with a serious expression. "Are you certain what you heard was the monkey?" he asked me. It was the only thing in the room that could have made that sound, so I replied, "Yeah, I'm sure. Why do you ask? I mean, it was you who made it do that, right? You were just teasing us." My granddad shook his head. My granddad nodded, then knelt down to my level and said, "Promise me you won't mention this to Will. Knowing him, it will frighten him from here on out. I'm going to put Charlie here away in the shed. So go back to your room and try to get some sleep, okay? And remember, don't say a word." The way he was so serious, so calm yet scared, it was the most horrifying part about this whole experience. There was nothing else I could do, so I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep at all. After that, there were no more incidents involving the symbol monkey. My Want to be that had put it right to the back of the shed, and inside a locked wooden box. I ended up enjoying the rest of the week well enough, but that incident had stayed in my mind ever since. I've never been able to get it completely off my mind. I mean, Charlie shouldn't have been able to move, and I can't explain how it did. Grandpa can't explain how it did. What really creeps me out is that on the first night, when I had it turned around, it turned back to face me. Not Will, me. And as far as I know, Charlie is still in the back of my granddad's shed. I've never talked about this experience with anyone apart from Granddad, as it just sounds crazy. And honestly, part of me wishes Granddad didn't hide Charlie away, but instead would have destroyed him. So long as it's out there, it'll always creep me out.